Prometheus, the Titan who defied Zeus, the molder of mankind. Long before humans walked the earth, there were the Titans. Most were imprisoned in Tartarus after the great war with Zeus, but a few were spared. Among them was Prometheus, whose name means forethought. He was a visionary, a thinker who could see the future consequences of every action. Zeus entrusted Prometheus and his brother Epimetheus with a task: to populate the earth with living creatures. Epimetheus took charge of the animals. He was generous but foolish. He gave wings to the birds, speed to the cheetahs, fur to the bears, and shells to the turtles. He handed out every gift of survival: claws, teeth, strength, until there was nothing left. When Prometheus came to create the final creature, man, he found the cupboard bare. Humans were naked, slow, weak, and defenseless. They had no fur to keep them warm, no claws to fight, no wings to fly. Determined to save his creation, Prometheus molded men out of clay and water, shaping them in the image of the gods themselves. He made them stand upright so they would look at the stars rather than the ground. But they were still vulnerable. They shivered in the cold nights, terrified of the beasts Epimetheus had empowered. Prometheus knew they needed an edge. The trick at Mecone. Prometheus loved humanity more than he respected Zeus. This bias led to the first great conflict between God and man. At a place called Mecone, gods and men gathered to decide how they would share food. Specifically, which parts of a sacrificed animal would belong to the gods and which parts men could eat. Prometheus decided to trick Zeus to benefit humanity. He butchered a great ox and divided it into 2 piles. In one pile, he placed the delicious meat and rich fat, but he hid it inside the animal's grotesque stomach lining. It looked unappealing. In the other pile, he placed the bare white bones, but he covered them with a thick layer of glistening, appetizing fat. It looked like the better choice. He asked Zeus to choose his portion. Zeus, deceived by the appearance, or perhaps knowing and playing along to justify his later anger, chose the pile of glistening fat. When he dug in and found only dry bones underneath, his rage was absolute. From that day on, men kept the meat for themselves and burned only the bones and fat to the gods. Prometheus had won the negotiation, but he had made a powerful enemy. The theft of fire. In retaliation for the trick, Zeus played a cruel card. He withheld fire from humanity. Without fire, men could not cook the meat they had won. They shivered in the darkness, huddled in caves, unable to forge tools or build civilization. Prometheus could not bear to see his children suffer. He decided to commit the ultimate crime. He climbed Mount Olympus in secret. He took a hollow fennel stalk, narthex, and approached the chariot of the sun, or Hephaestus's forge. He stole a single glowing ember, hid it inside the stalk, and carried it down to earth. The gift of fire changed everything. It was not just heat, it was technology. With fire, humans learned to cook food, harden clay into pottery, and smelt ores into bronze and iron. They moved out of caves and built cities. they began to rival the gods in their capability. When Zeus looked down from Olympus and saw the twinkling campfires of men spreading across the globe, he knew he had been defied. The punishment. Zeus's vengeance was twofold. First, he punished humanity by commissioning the creation of Pandora, as we discussed in Hephaestus's episode, who released evils into the world. But for Prometheus, the punishment was personal and eternal. Zeus ordered Hephaestus, along with the personifications of force, Kratos, and violence, Bia, to drag Prometheus to the highest peak of the Caucasus Mountains. Some say the edge of the world. There, Hephaestus reluctantly chained his friend to the rock with unbreakable adamantine shackles. He drove a diamond wedge through Prometheus's chest, pinning him to the mountain. But being chained was not enough. Every day, a giant eagle, the hound of Zeus, would fly down. It would tear open Prometheus's abdomen and eat his liver. Because Prometheus was immortal, he could not die. Every night, his liver would regenerate, healing completely. And every morning, the eagle would return to tear it out again. It was a cycle of agony designed to last for eternity. The unbroken spirit. For generations, Prometheus hung on that cliff. He suffered in silence, refusing to beg Zeus for mercy. He possessed a secret that Zeus desperately wanted to know, a prophecy about which of his children would one day overthrow him. Zeus offered him to free him in exchange for the secret, but Prometheus refused. He would not yield to a tyrant. He became the symbol of resistance against unjust authority. He was the champion of human progress and enlightenment, suffering so that we might thrive. His torment finally ended not by Zeus's mercy, but by the strength of a mortal hero. Heracles, or Hercules, on his way to complete his labors, climbed the mountain. He saw the eagle diving for its daily feast. Heracles drew his bow and shot the bird out of the sky. Then he shattered the chains and freed the Titan. Zeus allowed this, perhaps out of pride for his son Heracles, or perhaps because he and Prometheus had finally reached a silent understanding. Prometheus was free, but he was made to wear a ring made from the steel of his chains and a piece of the rock he was tied to. In this way, technically, he was still bound to the mountain forever. He is the Titan who gave us the spark of civilization. Every time we light a fire, turn on a light, or learn something new, we are using the gift of Prometheus.